Alrighty, welcome back everyone. We are nearing closer and closer to the release of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which I've said many times, it's going to crush the box office of Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny. In fact, it'll completely pause any kind of earnings most likely that's coming in for Disney's supposed success out of The Dial of Destiny. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and let's get right into exactly what's going on with Bob Iger, a specific emergency meeting, and how this deeply impacts Star Wars and whether or not fans should really worry if you really are a diehard Star Wars fan. Now, we know that the only big spark of hope that we have about Star Wars getting any better is if Favreau and Filoni happen to pull a rabbit out of the hat with the Ahsoka series and they turn things completely around, boost the momentum, and bring Star Wars back in action. It's all highly dependent on Star Wars Ahsoka. It's a make or break series, to say the least. However, what's even more alarming is a specific emergency meeting that took place just recently involving both Bob Iger and the board over at Disney, and how this really is spelling doom for the future of the Star Wars franchise, and it's really not a good sign, and it's all because of what's been going on with INDY 5, The Dial of Destiny, that initiated this emergency meeting between Iger and the board. Let's get into it. Now, one thing about this that's very concerning is the fact that with both Bob Iger and the board now in a state of panic for Star Wars, Marvel, and now INDY 5, however, one significant development involving Bob Iger right now is the emergency meeting that recently took place between himself, the board, and others concerning Star Wars. Part of this emergency meeting plan had much to do with a major proposal by Iger to cancel a long list of both announced and unannounced Star Wars shows as well as films, and that they will be limiting their number of announcements at this year's D23 event, and saving that for new reveals throughout multiple earnings calls throughout 2024. Now, another big section of this emergency meeting that took place between Iger and the board involved also by filtering out unnecessary shows that would cost more for their marketing strategies, as well as canceling out a large section of Star Wars merchandise surrounding the sequel trilogy lore itself. An even more alarming aspect of this emergency meeting that took place that was put together by the board involving Iger was how they are going on more extreme measures for the incoming Lucasfilm purge. This includes a series of firings on the table, replacing specific creators, cast, and even as far as those part of Lucasfilm's story group to be replaced with highly qualified individuals instead. Now guys, let me pause here for a second. Now, we've been talking about this Lucasfilm purge that is on the table. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and it is now progressing into a more faster rate, to the point where it is going to be a little bit expedited. And originally they wanted to really kind of just get this ball rolling. But the reason why it's going to take a little bit, longer than we would like to, is that they have to do this willingly without interrupting workflow. And we'll talk about this in just a second. So, as you all know, the story group has been very irresponsible about where Star Wars is heading. They have been doubling down on the High Republic material, something that a lot of fans heavily dislike. For example, The Acolyte is a High Republic Star Wars show that's going to completely divert from George Lucas's Star Wars. It's going to reinvent the philosophy of the franchise and what it truly stands for. We've talked about this yesterday involving Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy's efforts to do so. And what's even more concerning about this is what this is going to do as a ripple effect against other things out there like Marvel or their regular Disney releases and more. Now look, I have no problem with Disney making failures, but I'm also not looking for things to fail. I am a diehard Star Wars fan, a diehard Indiana Jones fan. Would I like great material to come out? 100% yes. But what they're doing right now with Star Wars and with the latest Indy 5 has been just an utter disaster and a disgrace to both sides of the fandom. It really has been. Shows a lack of passion, a lack of interest in the fans, not addressing their wants and needs, and just going by what Disney wants to do. This is what Tom Cruise does right with Mission Impossible. He provides the fans what they want to see on the big screen, upping the ante, really kind of giving fans these world-breaking stunts to be shown to the world on the big screen and more. So on top of this too, moving onwards, alright, this entire purge plan is going to take 2 whole years to effectively work without interrupting workflow, and is planned to be done in a very progressive manner. An even more shocking turn of events is that they will also be cutting back significantly on the marketing for the Acolyte series by Leslye Headland, as test screenings have been reported by of course, them to be very disastrous for Lucasfilm that can have no fixing at this time. This meeting also involved conversations on possibly canceling out initial plans of The Mandalorian going beyond Season 4 to focus on fresh new material instead by Favreau and Filoni, marking Season 4 as the final season entirely for Mando. Now, this is where things begin to tumble, is that not only are they looking out to canceling their flagship show, eventually by 2025, but beyond this, they are shortening the number of both announced and unannounced shows that were supposed to be unveiled and further detailed at this year's D23. So from the sounds of it, this year's D23 is going to be a major failure, if not the worst D23 event in history. It may very well be, guys, because it not only concerns Star Wars, this is also going to be impacting Marvel. We know that they have been canceling out some Marvel projects out there. It's kind of similar to that, except on a more extreme level here with Star Wars. So, look, we still have John and Dave doing their thing with Ahsoka. It's going to be make or break. It shall be interesting to see come August 26th, when this thing debuts on Disney Plus, to see exactly what it's really all about and where it's going to go come the 8th episode. Alright, so it's going to lead itself into the fall. And then we have Skeleton Crew later this year, which is going to flop, because that's a Kathleen Kennedy 100% controlled show, much like The Acolyte, so don't be too surprised if that show is going to lack your interest levels. But Bob Iger and the board here, you can tell that with this emergency meeting that has been going on, and will continue to develop as we go along the, lines of entering into eventually the 4th quarter of 2023. It's going to be interesting to see how everything unfolds, because right now, Star Wars is very delicate. Indiana Jones is just wrecked because this is one movie, unless they really do move forward with those sequels that they claim are in development, which I never see those seeing the light of day, let's be honest. On top of that, we have a lot of things that just need to be done and said. Fire Kathleen Kennedy, fire Leslye Headland, get new board members, and get rid of Bob Iger, and move along from there, make quality entertainment, and that's all you really need. It's not rocket science. Look at what Tom Cruise is doing with a spy action flick, pulling off stunts, raking in most likely $1 billion at the box office worldwide. It's looking like that by projections. I mean, there's a lot of people that already have their tickets pre-purchased already, and that's speaking volumes. So, anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.